terrific.
Yeah, I got that.
Well, let's talk a little bit about AI. I think there's several members of our chapter who's waded into it. From a personal experience, I uploaded a copy of a Irish microfilm that two sites could not read at all. They had wrong names, didn't have any name. I uploaded it. Not only did they give me my great grandmother's name, they gave me her parents. So now I know 2 weeks ago my great grandparents from Ireland, and this is terrific. I didn't expect that. On the other hand, Gemini gave me wrong information. Something's on page 12 of the Mount Froggen census. No, it's not. Oh, it's on page 12. No, it's not. Gemini kept me up at 1:30 in the morning, giving me wrong information. Seriously, honest. So finally I went to bed, yeah, I know it's evolving. It's gonna be a game changer. I hope so. That's why we titled our presentation. And also on Facebook, I know there's a lot of groups. I know that, but there's one particular group, Genealogy and Artificial Intelligence. There's 24,000 members, and it gets really, really deep. Most of that stuff is over my head, but there's people doing just fantastic things with AI now that I wouldn't even have thought about. And on our Facebook page, somebody had posted something about AI, and I can't remember the context, but there was a response from our presenter, Nancy, and it caught my attention. I mean, this is pretty interesting. This is pretty good. I need to check this out. So I contacted Nancy, and she graciously agreed to present to us today her hands-on experience. So let me read the intro. Our speaker today is Nancy Heiser-Vest. Nancy is a writer, genealogist, and teacher who is passionate about preserving family stories and helping others to do the same. She has spent decades researching her own family history and shares her work on her website, www.nancyhvest.com. If you Google Nancy Vest, it'll come. It's a terrific blog. It is. You check it out. Nancy is connected to our county through the Jeremiah Grant family. Nancy works part-time as an online writing instructor and is the author of The Growing Up Years, a guided journal designed to help people record memories from their childhood. Over the past year, Nancy has been exploring practical ways to use artificial intelligence in genealogy, especially for transcribing documents, analyzing records, and finding new approaches to brick wall research. Today, she'll share simple, practical ways you can begin using AI in your own family history research. Please welcome Nancy.
I need to share my screen. Does somebody need to do that?
Should be shared down the bottom.
Okay, I'll click it and we'll see what happens. Okay, we're good.
Yeah, you should give you an option of speaking which
Okay. Let me make that go away. That was not what I intended. Alrighty, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can, yes.
Okay, then let me go where I mean to go, because that's not where I meant to go. Let's go to here. This is the title of this presentation, is Unraveling the Past. I got into AI because of my job. As a writing instructor, we noticed students were using AI to write papers. So several of us went online to ChatGPT to see what it could do. And from there, I came to see that perhaps it could be useful with AI or with genealogy. And it is. It is. Like Doug was saying, it can be really annoying sometimes and incorrect, but it is coming along. All of my examples today are done with the free version of ChatGPT so that you can see what you can do without having to pay for an upgraded version of it. So the first question is, for people who don't know, what is ChatGPT? It's it's also called chat by many people, and it's a large language model. They predict words based on, pardon? It predicts words based on patterns that it has learned, like a very advanced autocorrect.
Well, she's just talking.
Yeah.
It understands and generates, they understand and generate human language. Chat can help with writing and editing, explaining information, brainstorming, analyzing documents, and more. Today, we're going to talk about, we're going to look at 3 different examples. We're going to look at a handwritten document, a probate package, and brick wall brainstorming. First, though, we need to talk about prompt writing. When you're using AI, your question is called a prompt. So prompt writing in genealogy needs to have certain things in it. A strong prompt would have a role. Basically, you tell the prompt to be the expert you want to talk to. A goal and or a task, and that can be what you want it to do or step-by-step instructions. Information, whatever background information you think the AI needs to know. And then a document or image if that's needed for what you're having the AI to do. And that's just generally good prompt writing for genealogy. So let's look at a few prompts. The first one is a weak prompt. I can't find my ancestor, John Carter. Can you help me? Well, that's a weak prompt. It could tell you anything. The second one is stronger. You are a genealogist and historian who is an expert with Kentucky records and history. That's the role. You've assigned the AI to be that person. Then this prompt goes on about John Carter, him appearing in the census, his wife, his child, and that the person asking hasn't been unable to find him or determine where he was born. So that's the background information that's needed. And then comes the question, what are 5 specific research strategies or record types I should explore to identify his birthplace and earlier records? So this prompt is strong. It has all the needed parts for the AI to be able to give you a reasonable answer. Here's another example. For this one, you would have uploaded a document or an image of a document already. Can you read this? Knowing chat, it would probably come back and say yes, and that's all you would get. A stronger prompt is you are a genealogist with expertise in transcribing handwritten documents, and that's the role of the chat right now. Please transcribe this handwritten document exactly as written. After the transcription, list any names, dates, places mentioned, notes about words that are difficult to read or questionable. And with that, you would get a pretty good answer from chat. It would be able to look at that and really help you with that. The first one we're going to look at is a handwritten document. I made a crop of it over to the side so you can see the quality of the handwriting that chat is looking at. This is an example of transcribing handwriting, extracting names and dates, and interpreting cultural context. This particular sample of handwriting was written by my great-grandmother, Margaret Maggie Grant Thomas. Maggie was born and raised in Chesterfield County and lived there for most of her adult life. Her grandfather, Jeremiah Grant, was a farmer, preacher, and probate judge, and he lived in Chesterfield County, Marlborough County, and Richmond County, North Carolina. He also gave the property for Mount Olivet Methodist Church on Teals Mill Road. So that's my big connection to the county, is through this grant line. So let me show you what chat did with this document. Let me go to here. Okay, over here to the side, you can see where I have uploaded the document. So you can see it all that it is. Is this screen big enough? Can everybody see it? Okay. Okay, so here's my question. Let me move this over to here so I can see better. You are a friendly genealogist who is also an expert at reading handwritten documents. That's the role I've given it. Transcribe this document exactly as it is written, and then analyze it for genealogy clues, including names, dates, identity of the writer, and purpose. Point out anything unusual, unclear, or possibly incorrect. Please keep your response within the capabilities of the free version of ChatGPT. I did that because I have a paid version, but I wanted it to do this demo in the free version. You can see I added some other stuff too, where it says you should treat this as a document you have not seen before. Respond only with requested output. Do not include explanations, suggestions, or any additional commentary. That's something you won't need to do. I had to do it because I had chat help me decide which examples I had would be good for a presentation like this. And when I tried to run this particular chat, just so it would show you what it could do, it kept wanting to intersperse little hints about how to use it in the presentation. So I had to put this on there to get it to stop doing that. So chat just wants to be helpful. And it was just being a little bit overly helpful. So I had to nip that in the bud. That's what that's all about. So let's see what chat did. So chat gave the transcription exactly as it was written. And I noticed some mistakes in the transcription. On the line where it says or fearful, Psalm 42, 2nd and 8, clearly that was wrong. So I made a note to myself about that. But otherwise, except for another mistake, it did really, really well with the transcription. It did an analysis for genealogy clues, the name, the date, a little bit about Maggie, that she was likely a married woman, what the purpose was, a personal religious reference note, unusual and unclear or possibly incorrect elements, the husband's initial instead of her own name. The nickname suggests her given name was Margaret. The problem with Psalm 42, and some phrasing that was slightly inconsistent. It also said the document appeared to be a copied or compiled list rather than original writing. Actually, I know that to be true because I found it at another time in a newspaper. So she probably copied it out by hand for herself. So I went a little further down and said I noticed a few transcription errors, gave it the corrections of what it should be, asked it to correct and show the transcript again. It did. It applied the revisions, and this time it got it right. Everything was as it should be. It even said its confidence level was high that it was correct. So then I asked it to create a Word document that I could download, and it did that. And I was able to download that Word document. So that's one way that chat can be helpful, because it can read handwriting that sometimes can be difficult to read. Now, the next one we're going to do is a probate package. This one is a will and estate sale. I've also given you an example of the handwriting for that one. I did a crop of it. You can see it's faint, it's a little messy, so we'll see what chat's able to do with it. This one shows transcribing, extracting key information, identifying relationships, summarizing and explaining, and it actually does more than that too. Let's go look at the man who did this, the man for this will. His name is Renatus Thomas. He was from Richland County, North Carolina. Now, he is my third great-grandfather. He is the grandfather of J.D. Thomas. J.D. Thomas is the husband of Maggie Grant Thomas from the first example. So that's how those two are connected. Let's look at this prompt. You can see here where I uploaded all of the pieces of the probate record, the probate package. Then let me turn this one down. No, go there. You are a friendly genealogist who specializes in South Carolina records and research. Analyze this probate document and help me understand it. Keep your response within the capability of the free version of chat. And you should treat this document as if you haven't seen it before. You can see I have all the other information that I had on that first chat because I just wanted to eliminate all that possible stuff from this demo chat. I also asked it specifically to please list people mentioned and their roles or relationships, summarize what's happening in the document in plain English, and point out any clues that would help with genealogy research. So it named all the people and their roles. It has Renatus, who was the man who passed away. His wife's named, she got a life estate recipient, but her name was not given. Then it starts listing the people. Here's the sons and some of the daughters, what they received, and some of them received more than others. Some received shares in livestock or household goods. Others just received cash. You can see where one of these people, Rufus Thomas, is listed as a grandson. A little further down, it gives the names of the witnesses, the justice of the peace, the probate judge, and other names that are involved. Like Isaac James is associated with the sales record, so he was possibly the clerk or a buyer. It's unclear at this time. So what's happening in plain English? This document contains the will of Renatus Thomas and records related to the settlement of his estate. Two sons inherited the main farm, along with shared livestock. Another son received another tract of land. Several daughters and sons got livestock and household goods. One son received money. The others received $1. And after his death, everything was sold at public auction. It's pretty straightforward, but it puts it in plain English. It makes like a nice paragraph for a summary if you were using that for some kind of history that you were doing. So the genealogy clues. You get a full list of the names and a grandson. It identifies the family structure, the wives, sons, daughter, grandson. And this would be especially useful if you didn't know this person, you didn't know anything about this family. It's quicker to have chat make the transcript for you than to have to sit there and try to do it yourself. It indicates land ownership, including the acreage that was given, confirms the residence in Richland County, shows the economic status. He's a large landholder and has livestock and equipment. There's names of witnesses and officials. Those could be associates, neighbors, or other relatives. And it gives a time frame when the will was dated, when the probate was sworn, which can give you an indication of when Renatus Thomas passed. And it goes on to give you other information. The grandson suggests a child had predeceased or had a child already grown. And the variation in inheritance amounts can suggest family dynamics or prior provisions. I asked it to please transcribe, review, and analyze the estate sale record. So it did the transcription, and it did pretty good. It was a little difficult for it to read. One thing I noticed right off was the date. It said October 1st, 1878 in its transcription. But on the document, it's October 1st, 1888. I also noticed that the first paragraph here was incorrect in wording. That's not what it said. But it did a pretty good job with giving the items and the amounts of money. One thing that I learned that was interesting, the feather bed, pillows, and bolster, it says a #8. It's because those things were valued by how much they weighed, by the weight of the feathers, which I did not know until Chat told me that in another conversation. So, and then it gave the last part, like the second part of the estate sale information. It said that some of the items were faint or partially illegible. Can't even say that word today. Wheel cutter might have meant a wheel cutter might have meant a weed cutter. As I said here, the feather bed, pillow, and bolster line includes the quantity and lot notation. The clerk's name and title, partially illegible. And there were 2 sworn statements. And the analysis. The sale was done on October 1st, 1878 in Richland County at the home place. There was livestock, tools, household goods, with a total estate value of $115.15, which Chat says suggests modest but stable means. There's also some family and social cues about J.M. Thomas and Jesse Thomas, who are likely some relatives. Now, it gets down to this timeline gap, which I know is incorrect because the sale was in 1888. And then it talks about research value, the things that you could look at. It may connect to additional court records. It confirms the presence of the family in Richland County, identifies 2 male relatives, provides insight into property composition and valuation. Its confidence was medium high because some things were unclear. So I brought these things up. I see a few problems. The date is 1888, not 1878. Also, I don't think you did a word-for-word transcription of the paragraph that comes after the date and before the list of items. Can you do this again? So Chat gave it another try. Said I was right to double check, always right to double check, and tried to do it again. It still wasn't right. I came back to it and said, it actually says J.M. Thomas bought at the auction at the sale, not J.M. Thomas being duly sworn says that he sold at public auction at the sale. J.M. Thomas bought everything at the auction. It was all family items and he bought it all. But Chat wasn't picking that up very well. I asked what the problem was. And Chat said right out it was because of the low image quality. It said that those things looked very similar in cursive when the ink was faint, The letters were compressed. The lines are slightly blurred or overexposed. So it explained why it had a problem doing that. It said it relied partly on pattern recognition of common probate phrasing. This comes from it having learned from other documents. So that's what it expected the phrasing to be. And that combined with the imperfect legibility led to the plausible but incorrect reconstruction. So it had to put its 2 cents in and say, your correction is actually a good example of something important for your presentation. I didn't ask for chat to do that. It just threw that in there because it keeps thinking that we need to be doing a presentation through these chats. So the bottom line is that it had problems from faint handwriting, visual ambiguity, and the model itself filling in with a familiar legal phrase. So this is the kind of thing you have to look for, just like when you're looking at any kind of records that have been transcribed, whether it be a census record or who knows what. It's always important to read back, look at the document itself to make sure it's correct. So I asked that if it would create a single Word document that contained the people mentioned, the roles and relationships, the summary of what was happening in plain English, and the genealogy clues all in one document so I could download it. There it is. The document is right there. It prepared it so I could download it. And it said if I wanted, I could make the font, it could make the font longer, bigger for the presentation, which is not something I needed since I wasn't planning to show you that during this presentation. Okay, let's look at our third example. The third one. No, that's not where I meant to be. That's the wrong one. This one. Okay. The third example is from, here we go. This third example is what I find the most fun to do with chat, and that's brick wall brainstorming. This example showcases what these AI abilities and others: pattern recognition across multiple records, historical context, household and census analysis, socioeconomic analysis, evidence-based reasoning, research strategy development, prioritization of next steps, and reframing the problem and handling conflicting evidence. The one I'm going to show you is about a woman whose name is Martha Rogers. She's not related to the Martha Rogers in your group, but just coincidentally, her name is Martha Rogers. Martha Rogers is my great-grandmother. She showed up the first place I can find her is in the 1870 US Census. She's 9 years old and she's living with an elderly couple. I haven't been able to find anything else about her earlier than that. I've looked off and on for years and haven't been able to find anything. So I put it to chat. Now, this prompt is long. I'm not going to read the whole prompt, but I will read part of it to you. You are a friendly genealogist who specializes in Maryland and Pennsylvania records and research. That's the role. I'm researching my great-grandmother, Martha Rogers, and I've hit a brick wall. My primary goal is to identify her parents. Please analyze the information below and help me develop possible explanations for her situation, along with specific next research steps in order of priority. So that sets it up. That gives the role and that gives the goal. And I asked it, what the things I wanted it to do. The next thing that comes is all the information I gave it. When you're doing a brick wall, it's important to give the chat all the information that you have. The more it has, the more it can be, the more specific it can help you. I created this prompt actually in a Word document and copy and pasted it into chat. It's not the kind of thing you'd want to sit in chat to put together. So let's look at everything I gave it. I gave it about her birth, the 1870 census, the 1880 census, when she got married, where she and her husband Joseph lived, when she and Joseph moved to York, Pennsylvania, and that Martha lived there until her death, information about her death certificate, that I don't know anything about why she was living with this family, the names of her children. And then I also added on, please do the following: identify patterns and clues, anything unusual in the information, suggest multiple possible explanations for why Martha was living with the Stoner family in 1870, suggest specific records and research strategies, prioritize my next steps. And this was the most important one. Ask me any clarifying questions that could help refine the research. By doing that, it makes it a give and take conversation between you and the AI. I also, again, ask it to use the free version and to treat it like it had never seen it before. So, patterns and clues, unusual elements. Martha is not living with the Rogers family, suggests separation at a young age. The household composition where she was, that she moved from the Stoner family to a position of being a domestic servant in 1880. The death certificate only lists her father's surname, no mother. So the son lacked any information of his mother's line. The geographic consistency, all this stuff before 1870 is localized in that part of Frederick County in Maryland. The naming pattern. Her daughter, Anna Maud, could be a clue to her mother having Anna or Ann as a name. Her son, Daniel, that he could be named after an important male relative too. Chat says there's no evidence of institutional care, so it doubts that that's anything that happened. It gave possible explanations of why Martha was living with the Stoner family: orphan child, single parent hardship, illegitimacy, kinship placement, apprenticeship or indentured typed arrangement, boarding arrangement, father deceased, mother remarried, or some kind of a connection to the laborer that was living with the Stoner family also in 1870. So this is what chat sees as what I should be looking at. A cluster search in 1870 census. Looking for Martha in 1860 census. Guardianship and courts records. Probate records. Church records in that same area of Frederick County. Marriage records with her and Joseph, and re-examine the death certificate. Cemetery records, the Sappington household where she lived in 1880, to see if there's some connection with the Stoner family, maybe, where she lived in 1870s. Land and tax records, newspapers, and these are all things you would expect to be researching if you're doing a brick wall. Next, it prioritized the next steps in specifics of what it felt like was the most important steps to be taking next. The first one was finding that marriage record, the original. Then searching the orphans courts, conducting full cluster research on those two families. This was the first three things that chat thought was important to do. Next, it asked me some clarifying questions. Did I have the original marriage record? Do I know where Martha's buried? Have I searched the orphan courts or the guardianship records? Have I identified any Rogers families living near the Stoners? Do I have the full death certificate? And have I researched the Stoners family's extended relatives? I answered those questions. I know that Daniel, her son, was named after his father's father. And I told it what I've done. I've checked the Stoners and the Sappingtons churches. They don't have any record of Martha being baptized. Martha was buried in Pennsylvania along with her husband, daughter, and 2 sons. I have the death certificate. I don't have the original 1881 marriage record. I only have a census reference from 1910 that says they were married in 1881. I haven't researched the Stoner family. I did a brief search for Rogers living near the Stoners in 1870, but I don't believe it was extensive enough. And I have started searching the Orphans Court's records using Family Search, but I have yet to find anything pertaining to Martha Rogers or Upton Stoner. Then it updated based on my new information. We're going to click down through all this refined patterns. It restates these things. Things like now that I know where the burial is, she's in Pennsylvania buried. I don't need to look back in Maryland. I have the death certificate, so I have everything there. The orphan court's records, so far that I haven't found anything, leads chat to believe this was an informal placement and not a placement through the courts. And I've done limited Rogers cluster work, which chat says is now one of the strongest remaining opportunities. The most likely scenarios haven't changed very much. The mother, who now might be Anna or Anne, was unable to support Martha, placed her with the Stoners. Maybe the father was deceased or absent early, possibly illegitimate, and most likely, most of the same stuff as before. So then it sharpened what it thought I should be doing now. Again, I need to get that marriage record. Expand the Rogers cluster research. Chat feels that is now essential to do. Deep dive on the Stoner family network, because it might not be through Mr. Stoner that Martha came to be placed with them. It could be through his wife's family. Orphans Court, again, it wants me to go back to the Orphans Court. Search for the mother named Anna or Anne in a targeted approach. And then do a little more research to find that out. Stay working in that area of Frederick County, and newspaper, the Sappingtons again. So here's the revised priority order. Again, I've changed that marriage license, the cluster search, research Eleanor Stoner's maiden family and extended network, targeted search for Anna or Ann Rogers, the Orphans Court search some more with a broadened scope, more searching of churches, newspaper records, and again, evaluate the Sappington connections. It asked me another set of questions. I answered those questions, but I'm not going to go through them with you right now. But I did have some things to answer to tell it. And it goes on and on like this, rehashing this for a couple of more rounds. So let's go down to further down so we can get more to the end of this, because there's no reason for you to breathe, for me to show you all of this, the rehashing. It gets long, it gets tedious. If it was your own family member, you'd find it very interesting. Probably because it's not your family member, it wouldn't be so interesting. And I completely understand that. Like here's something with the marriage record. It said to look in other counties, to look under the Heiser name instead. Let me see where I get closer to the end. I think this is the last one. Do the manual search for the 1881 marriage record. Complete the Rogers cluster work. The Waltz family reconstruction. Mr. Stoner's wife's name was Eleanor Waltz. So now that family needs to be researched, since Martha could be somebody from that family. She could be a great niece, a cousin, who knows what. So it also says the search for Anna or Ann Rogers or Waltz connections. Reframe the orphans court search by estate, not just by name. Continue to look in the Mount Airy church records. Land tax proximity analysis and targeted newspaper research. More questions, more updates. What I like is that when it gets further down, it gives, as it really drills into these things, like here it's talking about the cluster research of the 1870s Stoner household, which is now a top priority. After all of the clarifying answers I've given, now it's come down to this. It says step by step for me to, from that 1870 census record, to extract every household within 1 or 2 pages before or after, build a list of names, trace those neighbors in 1860 and 1880, look for the Rogers family disappearing or changing, look for Waltz connections, look for households missing a child. Chat says this is often where hidden kinship is revealed. And it goes through with each one of these and gives me, says systematically what I should be doing, what I should be looking for. Like a widowed Rogers household, a Rogers man who died. The same with the Waltz family reconstruction. To build out Eleanora's parents and siblings and where they lived. Look for a Waltz daughter who married a Rogers or had a child out of wedlock. More about this marriage record. Searching for it, where to search for it. Try looking under Heiser first. And I think that can be easier than Bride, depending on the record you're looking at. Reframing the orphans court search. So instead of searching for Martha, search for any Rogers estate with minor children. Then ask, where were they placed? Do any connect to Stoner or nearby families? It says to continue on with a map-based approach, which makes sense. Church records, adjust the focus, clear priority list again, which is now changed because before the marriage license information was way up in the top. That's gone way down in the list now. And focus questions to guide my next step. On the 1870 census, do nearby neighbors have the surname Rogers, Waltz? In 1860, can you find any Rogers families in Mount Airy or within a few miles? Do any Stoners or Waltz relatives appear as neighbors to Rogers families in any census year? So after that was all said and done, why are you not doing what I want you to do? I didn't ask it to do a document for me. What I can do is I can have chat create a Word document of the last version of the research priorities and the details. If I have it made into a Word document, then I can just print that out. Then I only have the last version of what was most important, and I have that to work off of. The rest of the information, all those steps going back and forth between questions and recalculating, I don't need to look at now. I just really need the final version of that. The other thing I could do is I could copy and paste that information into a Word document myself instead of having chat create it. It's really your choice. You can easily copy and paste out of chat into any kind of a document. So I'm really encouraged now because I feel like I have a workable plan. I don't just have logical next steps, but I also know why and what to look for with each one of those steps. I did this kind of thing with another brick wall that I had, and it was helpful. I didn't get a lot of positive information, but I got negative information, which is still good information because it still helps you stop going down a certain road. But brick walls can be difficult to do, and they can be long like this, but they can be really, really helpful, this kind of brick wall research. Let me go back to here, to here. That's the 3 cases I had to show to you today. I hope they were helpful. Here are some tips when using AI for anything. It may pause when it's thinking, and that's normal. You can ask for guidance. For example, I asked Chat how it wanted me to name the images for the probate package, and it told me what to do. Remember that you are in charge. The AI is a tool. If you're not getting the output you want, tell the AI you're not, explain why, and have it try again. Like I did with the probate package and said, hey, you didn't transcribe this correctly, try again. When it got it wrong the second time, I figured it wasn't going to get it right, and that's why I gave it to it what it needed. But just tell it what's wrong and have it try again. You're in charge, and you get to tell it what to do. Let's see. This was slide number 10. Here's some ways to learn about AI and genealogy. YouTube videos. Search for AI genealogy. A lot of videos will come up. Roots Tech videos. For 2026, there are several sessions about AI. Mark Thompson has one on improving prompt writing. I haven't looked at it yet, but I will be. Legacy Family Tree webinars has some also. Some are free, but most are paid. Also with the Roots text videos, there's some back in 2025 and 2024 for AI that are also helpful ones too. Let's see here. Let me go back to, I don't know where I want to go back to. Where am I at? Okay. Let's go to here. Okay. Now I can't figure out how to get back to me being on the screen. I don't quite know what I've done here. Let's see if I can figure that out. Okay.